I
All
look
right.
better in the dark anyway.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's like once you hit like 30 or 40, you're like, all right, let's dim the lighting a little. So, oh,
Yeah.
you look great. You got all your hair. It looks looking good.
Well, thank you, man. Yeah, I'm lucky bastard. You know, my brother started getting bolder when he was early 30s, and I was basically waiting for it. I thought, man, but I'm lucky. It's my sister is actually jealous of my hair, so that says enough.
That is so. It's so interesting though, because like you're come from that '80s era, and they call it hair bands, which I don't know if you find offensive or not, but it is interesting that some
No,
of those bands they lose their hair, and then it's like kind of
yeah,
like you do like some of them just go shave head, that's cool, and then other people I feel like they're putting on wigs, and I think some people know about that, some people don't, I don't know, but it's interesting.
yeah. People know about it. I mean, let's be honest. Kiss started wearing wigs already in the mid '80s. And they they didn't do it lightly. They ended up looking sometimes like the Bobbies in front of Buckingham Palace.
Well, yeah, because you toured with Kiss, right? So you got to like hang
Yeah,
out with them and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Was that
It was a very interesting tour.
really?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. Those guys. I mean, it's really flamboyant stuff. And with Vandenberg, we were a modest Dutch band, and we were play. Well, the Aussie tour, of course, 2 years before was in huge venues as well. So we had a little bit of experience, but man, the Kiss show is very serious, of course, and it was interesting because we only had a small part of the stage that we were allowed to use, and a very small amount of lights, especially because the crowd was going wild. We just had a hit with Burning Heart, so the crowd was really, really receptive. And so, after one or two shows, we were allowed to use less lights, less sounds, and less space on stage. So what you do, just keep working harder and run around like a couple of mad dogs. So let me see.
That's
Let me put it over
interesting. So
here.
they actually, it's the opposite. Like you become more successful and then you get less respect from the band you're opening for.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can kind of understand a little bit what their thing was. That was the first tour when they toured with pink makeup instead of black and white makeup, and I think they were a little bit in a phase where they wanted to be taken more seriously as a band instead of just theatrics. Which of course was the reason why they got Vinnie Vincent with it, because he's, as everybody knows, a pretty fantastic player. Um, so yeah, it was an interesting period for them and for us too. So it worked out all right in the end. I'm just really happy to tour the States. Even
Yeah.
though if I would have been a support act to Britney Spears, it's fine with me. Whatever.
Yeah.
Better
Well,
boobs, better boobs though on that tour.
she was pretty attractive back in the day. So when you tour with those bands like Ozzy and who else did you toured with back in the day? I mean, it was such a big, it was like Michael Schenker, Kiss, Ozzy,
Yeah,
Rush. What do you learn
yeah.
from watching those bands? Because you're the opener, and then I'm assuming you get to watch some of their headlining shows, or just like how they prepare and all those kinds of things. I mean, you take some of those things and bring it into Vandenberg.
Well, the main thing I think I learned is how to play a bigger stage. Because when you're used to really small stages, you kind of try to move a little bit on a very limited space. And when you play on those huge stages, you have to own the stage. You have to make bigger gestures. You have to cover some more ground, and you have to amplify the expression that you put in your physical part of the show. And I remember vividly how it was when we were suddenly thrown onto those huge stages with Ozzy. I go, holy shit, I better start moving around a little bit, because otherwise, you use about 5 square meters on the stage, and the stage is about 300 square meters or something. So it's a big difference, yeah. And that's the main thing. And also, you do look at those bands, especially. Well, a band like Kiss, it can't really compare to, because We didn't have, and I wouldn't not really use those kind of pyrotechnics and incredible projections and all that stuff, you know. We were not, and we are not that kind of band. But with Ozzy, it was more about the music. And basically, you look at those guys and you see what they do. You know, Jake Ely was a very good showman, apart from being a great guitar player. So I suppose um, subconsciously you probably learn more than you do consciously. I did not. What? Oh yeah, wait a minute. What I did learn musically, because writing the songs, you know, I did learn that the rhythms, the grooves of the songs translate a lot of the original stuff didn't translate as well in big arenas than the more mid type of grooves. You know, when you have so much reverb and echoes in such a big room, such a big venue, um, some some of the things that work in a club environment didn't work as well in a huge arena.
Interesting. That is really interesting. It's interesting too what you say about the moving around, like the stage moves. How do you learn that? Is that just something that's self-taught, or like, for example, like when you do, I mean, you're in the Here I Go Again Whitesnake video, which is one of the biggest videos of all time. Does the director or David Coverdale, are they directing you and telling you how to move and stuff? Or they just say like, okay,
no, not at all. Actually, what I usually do, I let the music flow through me, so to speak. I get sucked up into the whole vibe, and that, as you remember, you know, that video was a huge soundstage and with big lights and everything. And by then, I learned, you know, to let myself go on stage, no matter what. And I really love the song. You know, I'm definitely going to play that song on our American tour next year, because I'm going to play a lot of Whitesnake stuff that I was involved in those 13 years. I was with David, and I just let it go. I thought, you know, that idea to use the violin bow, of course, there was a Jimmy Page thing. That was an idea from John Kolodner, the A&R manager for Whitesnake, because it's a Zeppelin-ish song, of course, as everybody knows. So he said, "Oh, it would be a great idea to use the bow for the cello part." I thought, "Yeah, great." So I did it, you know, and then I did it live for quite a while, actually.
yeah, that's cool. Now I know you're a big Hendrix fan, but I've never heard your take on Stevie Ray Vaughan, because I feel like that's kind of like the next level Hendrix in a way, like the modern version.
Well,
And he was so, like, the way he moved in his faces and stuff. I mean, did that influence you a little bit? Because I think he's so cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, Stevie Ray Vaughan is one of my biggest all-time idols. Well, idols. I don't see it as idol, but favorites. You know, I listen to it a lot. Amazing player. Hendrix is my all-time hero, so to speak. And I don't know if you're familiar with my Manic Eden album that I made with Rudy.
Yeah, with Ron Young and Rudy and Tommy.
Yeah, that's where I let my Stevie Ray and Hendrix influences go full tilt, because I played everything on one of my Stratocasters, and that's where my Hendrix and Stevie Ray influences are definitely showing.
Yeah, that sounds like such a fun album to play. Like I don't think you guys did any shows live, or very few, but like that seems like that would have been really fun to play those songs live.
Yeah, man, it really is. It's a pity we only did like a French tour, but it was an acoustic tour, so we weren't able to play like that, and that's a pity, because I think it was a great band, and it's a great record. I'm really proud of the record still.
Yeah. So this new record though is great too, called Sin. And the cover art's cool because it's like it's a continuation of the Heading for a Storm. I'm assuming that the one is like they're heading for the storm, and is this kind of like they're in the storm because they're in these skyscrapers, or?
Well, yeah. I'll tell you. Oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, I'm back. It's getting dark over here. Yeah, the idea was that I suddenly had. I thought it would be great to make a connection with the Heading for the Storm album from '83. And those sharks, as people, you know, people who are aware of it, were flying over a highway in the middle of a desert. And I thought, you know, it would be great to let those Sharks Fly into New York, the city of sin, and also called The Apple. And there you go. The connection between the snake and the apple was the original sin. So that's why there's a little cheeky nod to my years in Whitesnake with the Whitesnake in the video for the song Sin. You got you got the apple, the snake, and New York, the city of sin. You know, so that's how I got that idea to make the sharks fly into New York.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm glad you explained that to me because I never would have picked up those little references. That's really smart. So you say like painting is kind of like making music. Like you have the ups and downs and the lights and darks and different shades and things like, so what inspires these songs? Just a variety of things?
Yeah, you know, it's I always compare it to putting up like a mental antenna, so to speak, and hoping it picks up something. And with me, I'm really lucky and fortunate, and I never take it for granted. But when I get a guitar in my lap or when I'm sitting behind a piano, my mental antenna always picks up ideas, you know, for songs, whether it's a melody, whether it's a chorus or a verse, or with a guitar, it's always a riff. I usually start with a riff for songs like on Sin, you know, it's always starting with a riff.
And then, so I'm assuming because you co-wrote these songs with the singer Mats, which he's amazing. If people haven't heard him, he's worked with Yngwie Malmsteen and Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Do you write the riffs and he writes the lyrics, or do you guys kind of dabble a little bit in each?
Well, what I usually do, what I actually always do and always have done is I make a very elaborate demo of how I hear it in my head, you know. So I record the music and I program the drums and play the bass guitar and all that stuff and keyboards. So I have a picture about the vibe that I think would be great for a song. And like the 2020 album, my previous Vandenberg album, my latest one, before this, right before COVID, I wrote the vocal melodies and the lyrics as well, which I was used to doing in my early Vandenberg years. But this time, I realized quickly that Mats also has a lot of ideas. So what usually happens is when I work on the music, I always have like little melody lines and usually the first line of a chorus and also the first words for a chorus. So I give it to Mats and see what he comes back with, and then we bounce ideas around. And when we had most of it together, I flew to Stockholm, where Mats lives, and then we started working on the vocal melodies and the rest of the lyrics. And so yeah, that was very much like how I worked with David actually. So that was interesting. It was the first time since 1989 when David and I worked on the Slip of the Tongue album. Oh, no, wait a minute. The Restless Heart album was in 1997. Yesterday was actually the anniversary, the 26th anniversary of the Starkers in Tokyo album that David and I recorded with the two of us, the acoustic one. But yeah, going back to Restless Heart, that was the last time when I worked together with somebody on the vocal melodies and the rest, you know. So I'm not used to that, but with Mats it worked out great because he's got a lot of ideas too. And we worked on the arrangements of the songs. It worked also great. So yeah, it was smooth.
Yeah, it's great. I love the song. I think, is this the first single was Light It Up? Because that's a really fun one. The great guitar work on that. That would be a fun song to like drive fast to or work out with, or I would definitely be sitting out along. I'm assuming you're going to play that live.
Oh yeah, we already did. 2 weeks ago, we had something called the release weekend, because that's when the album came out in Holland, and we did two sold out shows, and we played Sin live, we played Light It Up live, we played House on Fire live. House on Fire was the first single actually. Sin the second one. I assume Light It Up is going to be the third one because I really wanted it out as a single. It's going to be killer, you know. It's a great radio track.
Yeah, how's been the response been to playing these songs live and people hearing the studio versions? Have you gotten a lot of good feedback?
Oh yeah, people love it, you know, and it's great that they recognize it because as you mentioned, they were singles already. So normally, if you play new songs for the first time and people haven't heard it, I wouldn't put it in a set right away. So right now we only play the songs that people already knew a bit or very well or whatever. And I could tell the response was big, to those songs. So that was great. When we tour America next February and March, the repertoire is going to be very Whitesnake heavy because that's how most people know me, from my 13 years with Whitesnake. And I love to play that material that I was involved with for such a long time. So it's going to be an interesting combination of the most familiar classic Vandenberg songs like Burning Heart and Your Love is in Vain and Wait and that kind of stuff. And then there's going to be a lot of Whitesnake stuff, and then there's going to be some new stuff. So it's a very luxurious position to pick from all those great songs.
Yeah, that's a great. I love the mix because I like a lot of the new stuff. But you got, I mean, if you're associated with Whitesnake and obviously the old Vandenberg stuff, you got to play that too. And it sounds like this singer can do it. He sounds like, I mean, if you listen to this new album, I mean, there's some of the songs sound very David Coverdale-ish.
Yeah, of course. He's from a generation of singers. He's in his mid-50s now. That was one of his influences when he started singing, David and Robert Plant and Ron James Dio. So you can hear all the influences in his singing. The interesting thing is that his timbre, his tone of voice, is not far away from David's at all. When we played Still of the Night as an encore, when we played the Monsters of Rock cruise 2 months ago, he sounds very close to Coverdale. He's one of the very few singers who can pull it off. So people go, holy shit.
Yeah, because that is not an easy song to sing. Talk about the song Burning Skies, because I thought that riff is so interesting. I'm not a musician really, so I don't really know, but it's like I feel like the tempo or something, how you kind of start and stop. And it has kind of like an old, like almost like a Megadeth feel. Like it's really kind of a cool riff. How did you come up with that?
Yeah, that's the weird thing that I mentioned earlier. Those riffs kind of, I pick up my guitar and those things usually start to happen. I go, oh, this is nice. And then I fine tune it a little bit and then record it into my iPhone. And so when I get to the phase where I'm going to start writing songs again, then I listen to all the ideas on my iPhone. I got like thousands of ideas on there. At least, yeah, I mean, at least hundreds, but over the last 10 years, it's got to be 2,000 ideas or something. And I pick up the ones that I really give me a kick. And then I go, oh man, I want to continue with this one. So, and then the Crossman stuff lurks around the corner because that's when you have to put the time in. You get that idea in a flash sometimes, and that's when the work comes in because then I have to make a song out of it. So it's a very interesting process that still fascinates me actually.
Yeah, and I mean, you also have the song "Hit the Ground Running," which it's kind of like light it up. It's kind of that fun, like I feel like it could be used for sports or an action movie or something. And then Out of the Shadows kind of has that spooky vibe. Like, do you think you'll try to get these songs placed in movies or TV shows? I know you had a song with the football club, right? You guys had a theme song?
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote the song specifically for the local football team in my hometown. So it hasn't been released as a proper single, but yeah, it's always great if one of the songs that you have gets picked up because it gives you a lot more exposure than on regular radio. So it would be great.
Yeah, because how hard is it nowadays to make it as a musician, even someone as yourself who has one of the greatest guitarists of all time and well known, but just with the way streaming is structured, I mean, is there one main income source for you at this point? Like, is it current day songwriting stuff? Is it song royalties? Is it merchandise? Is it shows? Is it session work or guitar lessons? Or is it just everything has to be combined together?
Yeah, it's a pile of everything. It's like royalties that sometimes come in. It's not as much as like 20 years ago, of course. But if you keep moving like I do, then next year I'll have some royalties coming in from now. But album sales, of course, are crappy compared to the 80s. and Spotify only per stream you get paid like 0.0.3 or something. It's like basically nothing. If you need to have like 100 million streams in order to make a living with that. But it's especially live shows, some merchandise. These days, more and more bands are doing VIP packages, and some people think, oh, that's a lot of money, but that's how you have to get by as a band because um, the fees for shows are not that they're difficult from like 15 years ago, but touring has become like so expensive. The prices for transportation, hotels, all that stuff, really really expensive, and crew guys. A crew is really expensive, especially after COVID, because a lot of crew guys stopped doing it and they took on like a solid job and they didn't go back. So the crew guys that are still there charge more money. So all in all, um, for me, it's a survival of the fittest. I do this because it's my passion, and if I have a roof over my head and if I did well with Whitesnake, of course, otherwise I probably wouldn't be able to do this because um, in this phase, it's very hard to make enough money to make a living for everybody, whether you're known or not. Only the really big acts make a shitload of money, but the middle part, uh, like between a starter and people with a name and a reputation, but not nearly as big as the Motley Crues and the Leopards who are touring right now. Those are massive tours. The best way to do that would probably be a special guest on a tour like that, where you can make decent money and do some merchandising and stuff. But it's all great, because I'm just really thankful that I still live because my passions are still my way of life, and I'm very very grateful for that because man, I never thought because I was for a year and a half I was an art teacher at a high school. I was teaching art, that was my job, and I loved it because I love painting. I love passing my knowledge over to kids who are or people who are interested. So yeah, it's I'm still living the dream for me.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, because I know you got the art degree and all that stuff, and so it's really cool that you're able to still make music. Is there? I can't see you. Did you? Your light is really dark.
Yeah, I didn't put on the light in the living room because we're talking.
Maybe, yeah.
Let's see. Let's see if I can create some light here. I should.
A dim
I
is
should be.
okay, but this is like pitch black. I don't know.
There you
If
go.
listening, they can, okay, that's a little better. Yeah. Let's see what else I was going to ask you about. Oh, I had to ask you about this. I know you've talked about this a little bit, but I just wanted to get a little bit more detail about that show that you did with Vandenberg. Would you Metallica opened for you guys, and you said this was the show that Dave Mustaine got fired at. Did he play the show and get fired after the show, or was he fired before the show and then they went on without him or something?
I don't know. Actually, I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know Metallica at the time. Uh, now I do. Who doesn't? But I actually a fan sent a copy of a page from a biography of Scott Ian from Anthrax, and he was apparently at the show.
Hmm.
And he wrote about that incident in his biography, and he said, Stephen Mustaine was stoned and drunk out of his mind, and he was rolling on the floor of the venue, screaming how crappy our music was, because of course they were making like some kind of punk metal type of whatever it was. Oh, wait a minute, I gotta connect my phone to the power. There we go.
Oh,
So
yes.
and he wrote about it, that incident. I didn't know, so I thought, oh man, that's historic. That's
Oh, so
history.
you don't even remember, like, you didn't watch Metallica or you didn't see them that night or anything?
No, because it was a really late show and we were on tour. I think we were on stage around like way after midnight. and we were traveling at night because the next day we were headlining another show somewhere upstate New York. I don't know, but we didn't really have the time to stay. You know, I saw a little bit of their sound check, but at the time that was not really my interest in music because it was like metal, punk, whatever it was, speed metal or something. The funny thing is, you know, at some point I thought it would be a great joke to send them an invitation to open up for us again, um, because you know it's nice to give young talent a chance, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, what about do you have any memories of when you were in Whitesnake and you toured with Aerosmith? You did some shows with Aerosmith and Poison, right?
Oh yeah, we did shows with a lot of like in Europe. We had Aerosmith and Poison as support acts, if you want to call it that. They were basically special guests, of course, but Poison never got off the ground in Holland or in Europe actually, but Aerosmith, of course, did. But at the time, they did not have the status that they always have in the States and still have. So and Whitesnake did. So we were headlining, and I've always been a huge Aerosmith fan, and I still am. You know, so I thought it was great. You know, having those guys with us on the Monsters of Rock tour. It was a big tour, you know, through Europe, very big venues, big festivals, and it was great. You know, me being a fan, I can't say that I'm a like a big Poison fan, but you know, they're really great at what they do. So yeah, what the hell, you know, it was a great lineup. Oh yeah, another band was also the Choir Boys, which is like a British band that is very much like the early Faces with Rod Stewart, you know.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's interesting. So, talk about too. Like, I didn't realize I had to look this up, but I think I maybe I knew and I forgot. But for a brief time, Warren DeMartini from Rat was in Whitesnake, right? Didn't you guys play together?
Yeah, we toured with Warren in 1994, the Greatest Hits tour, as it was called. I really enjoyed playing with Warren. He's a great player, great guy. We got on great, you know. We have different styles, so it was really fun. Really nice guy, great player. So yeah, it was a great experience.
What is it like playing with like Warren DeMartini or Vivian Campbell or Steve Vai? Like, is it fun because you're both just really good guitar players, or would you rather not share the glory and just to have it all for yourself?
No, it's fine with me. You know, I think you feed off of each other, and also I think it's interesting because all of us had different styles, especially the difference between my style and Steve Vai's style is totally different. Is big. And Steve and I became instant friends. You know, we still regularly in touch, and we really enjoyed touring together because our different styles. You know, and I think it's great for the crowd because you have much more variety in guitar solos and guitar approaches. I think the styles of Vivian and Warren are less far away from me, but still very different. Out of the three, um, like I have classical influences in my playing, as people are able to tell. Vivian is very influenced by Gary Moore. He's got more of a blues rock style, and Warren is very American. Warren is more, I think, from the Eddie Van Halen school of playing, and that kind of style, very LA. And I'm very European, I guess, you know.
Yeah. So what do you talk about? Like when you said you became friends with Jakey Lee on the Aussie tour, you're friends with Steve Vai. When you're hanging out with other guitar players, do you talk a lot of guitar stuff and do you trash other guitar players? Oh, this guy sucks. Or like, you just marvel and how amazing things, or do you just talk things about totally not guitar?
No, a bit of everything. You know, you talk about mutual heroes, about your equipment, about food, about women. It's fun. I have very good memories of spending time with Jakey Lee. For instance, he introduced me to onion rings. Well, and that definitely, and his opinion I vividly remember. He says the Howard Johnson onion rings are the best ones, man. You know, whenever you can get them, those are the ones to get. With Vivian, I did spend quite a lot of time on the '87 tour, of course. Um, I always enjoyed spending time with him. I heard from other people that he was kind of talking in interviews about me being the cause of him getting thrown out of Whitesnake. That was totally not the case. You know, I didn't even know that David decided to stop working with him until the tour manager told me. You know, I didn't know. I know the reasons. You know, the reasons was very much Vivian's wife at the time, so I can say it now because they divorced. But his wife was a pain in the ass for our tour manager, for our management, for the light engineer, for the sound engineer. You know, she used to go to the sound engineer and go, "My husband is not loud enough in the mix," and then she would go to the light engineer, go, "My husband is not getting enough light on stage." And the bottom line was that the ideas, the song ideas that he presented to David. David told me later, you know, those were not the ideas that fit in Whitesnake. They were more suitable for bands like U2 and that kind of stuff. So those reasons put together were the reasons for David to stop working with Vivian, and I had nothing to do with it, you know. So yeah, I never got a chance to talk to Vivian about it. At some point, who knows, you know. But it bothered me a little bit because I am not like that, you know. Whitesnake was always a two guitar band, just like Thin Lizzy and just like Allman Brothers and Wishbone Ash. You know, there's lots of bands with two players, and when a band is like that, you know, with Sykes it was for a while. They did a bunch of shows where he was the only player. But yeah, David always wanted it to be a two guitar player band.
Yeah, didn't there was a brief time too where you were the only guitar player, and then was there a time where you played with two other guitar players in Whitesnake, like in '97 or something like that?
No. It's always been two guitar players, me and well, first Vivian, and then Steve, and then Warren, and then Steve Ferris, who was a session player.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's yeah, and that the thing with Vivian, that sounds like that was clearly David Coverdale's call because I think he ran that show. I don't think he was taking a lot of input from other people, unless it was maybe John Kolodner or something. I don't know that he would.
Yeah, he took input, but you know, David also took input from me, but mainly music-wise.
Music,
But we
right?
also talked about you know, where to go, direction. The thing with me is that I was used to running my own band, unlike any other player who's ever been with Whitesnake. So David relied on me, and he couldn't rely on me. You know, like when David wasn't there at rehearsals or he came in late or whatever. You know, I was used to working with a band. You know, and to running a band. So um, David told me over the years, you know, it was comfortable for him to know that I'm experienced with that. And as people know, you know, we worked great together on a music bit, and we're still in touch. You know, we became very good friends instantly from the even before I was in Whitesnake. And when in the time when we did the recording sessions for Here We Go Again, we spent a lot of time together, and we share the same kind of humor. You know, I lived with David in David's house for like almost a year twice. You know, so in the evening we would watch Monty Python and Fawlty Towers and Blackadder and all kind of humor or movies or whatever. You know, we had great times together, and whenever we are together, we still have those times.
That's awesome. Yeah, I noticed your humor. You post a lot of funny things on Instagram. Do you ever worry about offending people and losing fans with stuff like that? Like, I mean, I know that you posted the one thing about the flat earthers, and that, I mean, that made me laugh. But you never know; you might have flat Earth fans.
Yeah, I know, but you know, the people who know me know that it's all meant in good spirits. You know, I don't want to insult anybody. I don't mean to, but I like to make fun. I see the humor in everything and anything, and if you don't do that, life becomes a little bit heavy. You know, I mean, I see humor happening in politics, in also there's a you know, yeah, like I said, there's humor in anything and everything. I think if you exclude stuff, um, then it becomes kind of, it could be racist. If you like, I think if you can make a lighthearted joke about any race or any country where people live, I think it's scary the fact that one of the funniest episodes of 40 Towers, which was about the Germans. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
No,
Now
I've seen like clips of that show. I would watch it though. John Cleese is brilliant.
it's brilliant, and the times we live in are so woke. I am very unwoke. I think you should be able to make a joke about everything and anything because humor and music are universal languages. Who doesn't want to laugh? And who there's so many people who take themselves so seriously. I never take myself seriously because I'm only a guy who loves music and who is fortunate to be successful in music. That's not like a given. It's there's so much talent in this world. There's so many amazing guitar players, amazing drummers, amazing vocalists that don't get the spotlight. So I never take anything in life too serious, apart from serious things like people passing away, neglected kids, serious illnesses from cancer to whatever. Those are things that I don't really joke about. But everything else, I think you should be able to see the humor in it because otherwise life becomes really heavy.
No, I agree. I was trying to get this author on my show. She was a sexual assault. She literally survived a serial killer, and she talked about how she loved dark humor. And so, like, if somebody like that can, say, "Hey, dark humor is great." I mean, I think my thing with comedy is just know your audience. Like, I try not to post a lot of stuff on social media because I know it offends some people. So I just send stuff to people that I know will appreciate those jokes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I got called back by my record company and management regularly. They go, "Adrian, you can't do that. It offends people." I go, "Well, sorry, man. It's my kind of humor, and people who like my music and who like my sense of humor, they will hang around. And if they take things very seriously, then I may not be the guy to hang out with because there's hardly anything, any subject where I don't see the humor in. I do remember when I was making jokes about Donald Trump that a couple of people who are into Trump didn't like the jokes. But then again, by now, friends and foes call him the orange one. I did that at the time because I thought it was kind of funny that Trump has himself sprayed orange, which he does. People know. And I think it's funny. If he would have been Biden or Obama or whoever, I think everybody's entitled to their political views and their political preferences. It's all fine by me. I will never tell anybody to vote this way or that way. It's a free society and it should be one. But you should be able to make jokes about everybody and anything. I think so.
No, there's definitely. I just read the news, and I feel like the news is comedy on all sides of the political spectrum, and just the world right now. It's kind of a little upset. I don't know how it is, because you're in the Netherlands, right? So I don't know how it is there, but here it's just. I feel like it's a comedy of errors right now.
Oh, it is. The same as in the Netherlands. People have been more open-minded and free in Holland than in a lot of other countries. But these days, the political correctness and the woke movement is definitely also growing in Holland. To everybody's surprise, you go, man, that's not how we used to be. It's not what the Dutch spirit is all about. Like open, free-thinking people. Appreciate each other's and accept each other's different point of views and political views and whatever. So now it's quite shocking to see the political correctness is getting a little over the top for me, and also the whole woke thing. Come on, man, the whole gender thing. Holy shit, it's. I have a different opinion about it, and everybody's fine. I mean, I compare it to other people like I identify as a millionaire, but when I go to the bank, they keep telling me that I'm not. I think everybody is entitled to feel the way they feel. I don't I appreciate everything. I respect everything, but I I do have some difficulty with people who say, no, there's not just two genders. There's about 35 genders. Because I go, come on, there's no 35 genders. There's whatever you feel like. It's fine by me. I don't. I totally respect people who are gay, people who feel like there's somewhere in between. It's fine by me. But the thing that I have a little bit of trouble with is when it gets pushed on you. Plus, I don't agree with the fact that it's pushed on 12-year-olds. That's totally against everything I believe. I was a teacher. I've been teaching art to 7-year-old kids, and I've been teaching art to teenagers. And for me, when you're a teenager, when you're in between, for instance, the hardest bit is probably between 13 and 16. When you're trying to find your own, or a little older even, you're trying to look for what is my identity. With what kind of people do I feel comfortable. It's a complicated period enough. If you start telling 12-year-olds or younger, you can be whatever you want to be. It's going to make it very complicated for them, I think. Because they're going to find out what they are anyway. But I'm against kind of pushing it on young kids, and whether that's left, right, center, middle, or whatever, I don't care. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I worked with kids for 17 years. It's definitely a tough time. I worked with middle school and high school kids, and from,
Yeah,
12 to 18, I mean, it's a process of exploration and identity. And those kids
yeah,
were before this whole gender thing came along. I mean, those kids were already struggling to figure out who they were and, trying
exactly.
out different personas and things. And I remember
Yeah.
myself even trying to be like I grew up in Seattle in the 90s during the grunge era. I was trying to be like a metalhead, and I got called a butt rocker all the time. And I mean, it's an interesting time. Yeah. I mean, for kids.
It
So
is. Yeah. Everything is fine with me as long as everybody respects each other. Whether it's religion, whether it's sexuality, whether it's how you feel, how you identify, it's all fine by me. But um, whatever it is, whether it's politics or gender or art or music or I don't, whatever, please, respect each other and don't push it on somebody else, because people have the right to figure it out for themselves. Whatever you are, whatever you feel like, it's all fine. But I don't like the pushy bit. And personally, I don't believe in 32 or 35 genders. I think, well, you're born biologically, you're born as a boy or a girl, and at some point when you feel differently, just find out for yourself what you're most comfortable with. I don't really care, but don't make it too complicated. Right now, I've seen a couple of restaurants where there is actually a third bathroom. For people who don't know whether they are a girl or a boy. If you take that further, then you're going to end up with 32 bathrooms. That's going to be a little bit of a weird society to me, but what the
well,
fuck
yeah.
do
So
I
what do
know?
you think? Because you toured with Kiss and Vinnie Vincent. I mean, there's rumors that he may be transgender. I mean, that's what people are saying. He's never come out and said either way, but
Oh
do
yeah,
you,
I think he's come out. He came out because uh, last year there was a video on YouTube, and I thought, wow, man. At the time, I already thought he was in Kiss when we supported. I realized he was very, very feminine. That's all fine by me. I don't care. Whatever somebody feels, do it. So he did, and yeah, he came out as uh, he like he feels more like a woman than like a guy. Fine. He's a great player, and whatever he feels like doesn't diminish his playing, in my opinion. And yeah, that's like a serious subject these days. Kevin Spacey, one of my favorite actors. He gets all kinds of lawsuits from guys who claim that he grabbed their butt or something. Whatever. if it may be the case, it may not have been the case, but I usually find it a little suspicious when suddenly somebody gets bombarded out of the blue with one or two, and then there's a bunch other ones, and then in the end, he got banned from all kinds of movies, and like House of Cards, one of my favorite series. Whether he pinched the guy's butt, doesn't diminish, in my opinion, him being an amazing actor. And rape is a different thing. Rape is a very serious thing. I can totally imagine that that is a complicated thing for a movie company to deal with. But this was not rape, apparently, and also, he got acquitted. So the damage has already been done because for a couple of years he hadn't been able to play a role. He's an amazing actor. It's very difficult, that whole thing. In my opinion, regularly it shoots way too far over the initial problem, if you want to call it a problem. Rape is a problem, shouldn't be allowed under any circumstances. When you're a man, like he is, man, talking about that, I can't even tell you how many times I've been pinched in the butt or other parts in that region by, sorry, over enthusiastic females. If I would have had to start a lawsuit, I would have been extremely busy. I would still be in litigation now because, some people get carried away, and I think pinching somebody is not that bad of a thing, especially when, I don't know. It's so hard to prove, and when a woman has been raped, that's something that you can prove, and that's an awful thing, and that ought to be punished severely. I think raping is a very serious thing, and it can mess up somebody's life. It usually does. It pretty much always does. That has to be severely punished. Pinching pinching somebody's butt. It's quite a gray area and quite impossible to prove.
Oh yeah, and especially in the 80s, times were a lot different, and times
they were
very. You got to be careful. I would advise anyone, as guy or girl, careful who you pinch, because people can throw it on you. So yeah. Well, thanks so much for doing this.
My pleasure, man.
I always end promoting a charity. Is there a charity or a cause that you would like to promote here at the end?
Yeah, something with about children. There's something in Holland that takes care of fulfilling wishes of terminally ill children. I don't know if something like that is in the States.
Yeah, Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Well, there you go. Yeah, please. I support that very regularly by supplying a painting or a couple of lithographs or whatever. I think that's a beautiful cause, because I've seen the faces of those kids, and it makes you teary-eyed. It definitely makes me teary-eyed, and the innocence of kids, not being spoiled like we are, having to discuss things that we just talked about. Those kids don't know anything yet. They don't get a chance to live. And all of them are optimistic, I mean, if you're an adult and you're terminally ill, you want to keep living because you've got so many beautiful reasons to want to stay alive. Those kids don't know anything yet, and they're totally optimistic. They go, they're laughing and stuff. I think the Make-A-Wish thing is beautiful, so I would really like to support that too.
Okay,
I'll put that in Holland.
Okay, I'll put that link in the show notes along with your website. The album is out now, and you guys have some shows lined up. I think some shows with Jeff Tate, and then some shows in March at the House of Blues in Texas.
We have
more shows added.
Yeah, no, actually, we have the full schedule is going to be online one of these days, we do 26 shows on the East Coast.
Wow.
And the second half of summer, we want to come back for the West Coast. So next year, with a bit of luck, we're going to do about 60, 70 shows in the United States, which I'm extremely happy about because I have not toured the States since 1990.
Oh, yeah, that'll be great then. Hopefully you'll do, I'm in Phoenix, so hopefully you'll either come to Phoenix or maybe Vegas or San Diego.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. So we get the chance to shake hands. Make sure you let our promo guy, Steve Carrots, know that you want to come to the show so we get a chance to shake hands. It would be great.
Okay, that'd be great. Thanks so much. And yeah, well,
my pleasure.
All right. Thanks.
Great. Thanks very much, man. Take care and see you in Phoenix.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to the full podcast episode. Please help support our guests by following them on social media and purchasing their products, whether it be a book, album, film, or other thing. And if you have a few extra dollars, please consider donating it to their favorite charity. If you want to support the show, you can like, share, and comment on this episode on social media and YouTube. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can give us a rating or review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts. Finally, make sure you're subscribed to the show on YouTube for the video versions and other exclusive content. We appreciate your support. Have a great rest of your day and shoot for the moon.